Before phones and constant internet access, teenagers spent more time physically together. You'd rent movies, watch TV, wander around outside, listen to music with your friends, sit around talking nonsense for hours, or make your own fun whenever everybody got bored. Mixtape understands that feeling better than almost any game I've played in years. On paper, this sounds like the exact type of game some people would dismiss. It's short, linear, mechanically simple, and half the experience depends on licensed music that I unfortunately have to mute for this review. But somewhere in the middle of that, Mixtape managed to make me feel genuinely sad about saying goodbye to 3 characters I only spent a few hours with. Mixtape follows 3 friends, Stacy Rockford, Van Slater, and Cassandra Moreno, during what's essentially the final night before their lives start pulling in different directions. Rockford is leaving town to chase a music career in New York. The night unfolds through a playlist of songs tied to memories, conversations, and moments the trio shared. The game moves through these memories almost like a playable mixtape itself. 1 minute the group is hanging out together, then suddenly the game drifts into surreal fantasy moments connected to how these characters experience the night emotionally. And that's probably the first thing Mixtape gets right. The surreal moments feel connected to how teenagers used to entertain themselves together through music, boredom, imagination, and shared experiences. The game is very linear, and mechanically it stays pretty simple throughout. Most scenes revolve around simple minigames, movement sequences, and interactive set pieces tied closely to the soundtrack, which means whether this game works for you will depend heavily on whether you connect with the atmosphere, the characters, and the emotions underneath everything else. The game doesn't spend hours over-explaining who the characters are. You mostly learn about them through conversations, arguments, jokes, and the way they behave around each other throughout the night. Because the whole story unfolds across a single night, there's this constant feeling underneath everything that time is running out faster than the characters want to admit. Presentation-wise, Mixtape is probably one of the most visually expressive games I've played this year. The lighting, color palette, and art direction are gorgeous throughout the entire game. A lot of the environments are pretty ordinary on paper, but Mixtape frames them with this dreamy late-night energy that makes ordinary places feel strangely memorable. The animation style also took me a little time to adjust to at first. The characters move with that lower frame rate stylization similar to Spider-Verse animation, where movements feel intentionally staggered instead of smooth. But once my eyes adjusted, I think it helped the game stand out visually because the exaggerated motion fits the tone of the story really well. I already mentioned earlier that I have to mute most of the music in this video because the game uses a massive amount of licensed tracks. But what makes Mixtape interesting is that the songs aren't just layered over scenes. The entire game was created around these specific tracks. Rockford introduces each new song in the playlist throughout the night, and the characters constantly reference the music directly in conversations, and different songs become attached to different people and memories across the story. I think what stayed with me most after finishing Mixtape is that the game understands how certain periods of your life slowly disappear without you realizing it at the time. But at the same time, I completely understand why this game won't work for everyone. It's short, it's very linear, and heavily dependent on atmosphere. If somebody needs deeper gameplay systems to stay engaged, this probably won't connect with them the same way. But for me, Mixtape ended up being one of the most endearing games I played this year. I ended up caring about these characters far more than I expected to only after a few hours. If you'd like to check the game out, the link is in the description. And if you enjoyed the review, consider leaving a like, subscribing to the channel, and sticking around for more. I'll see you in the next one.